Good morning, students. Today, we are going to take up part C of Sources of Business Finance for class 11, where we'll be dealing with shares and retained earning as long-term source of financing as well as owner's fund. As I had told in part A, that the same item goes with the overlapping effect. So shares are long-term sources of finance on the basis of tenure, and on the basis of ownership, they are owner's fund. If we see shares, let us see how exactly the impact of share is there on the company and what exactly is shares. Because this is what we see the effect of what you can see over here on the slide in the stock market, shares price going up and down. So what if you could see, shareholders are scattered all over the globe and they possess this share. That means it is the smallest unit of capital. The capital in the business that you put in is in the form of either owner's fund or borrowed fund. In owner's fund, if we talk of shares, it is the smallest unit of capital with a face value, say 10 rupees, 100 rupees. Now these shareholders have voting right. I have put it in stars because this voting right is for a specific category of shareholders only, that is equity shareholders. For preference shareholders, they don't have voting right. Now, the return for investing the money as share capital is dividend. And this dividend is paid if and only if the company has profit. Otherwise, you don't get dividend. And the shareholders are supposed to be the members of the company. Now, if we see the characteristics of share, it is a unit of capital of the company. Each share is of a definite face value. What I said, 10, 100. Usually the face value is low. A share certificate is issued to the shareholder indicating the number of shares and amount. Then each share has a distinct number to identify who is the holder of that particular share. The face value of the share indicates the interest of a person in the company and the extent of his liability. That is, if you have 100 shares of 10 rupees each as face value, then 100 into 10,000 is your liability. Now these shares are transferable units. You can sell it in market. You could see the format of the share certificate for a particular company when it is in physical form. When it is in physical form. Later in 12th we'll learn how the thing goes in demat form. Now if we talk of shares, they are broadly classified into two categories: equity shares and preference shares. We'll take one by one. Issue of shares, what exactly it is? As we have already said, it is the capital of the company divided into large number of equal parts or units. Each such unit is called as a share. That is why we say it is the smallest unit. In other words, share is the share in the share capital of the company. The aggregate value of the share is known as share capital. Those who subscribe in the share capital become the member of the company and are called as shareholder, and are getting the status of owner in the company. Hence, shares are also described as ownership securities. And as we have already shown, there are two types of shares: which are issued by the company to raise capital, equity shares and preference shares. Now, what are equity shares? If you could see the two logs apart from the entire bars where the figure is moving up, this bar shows that they are the base capital or the permanent capital which will always be there in the company till the company exists. So that way we can say equity shares are those shares which do not have any special or preferential rights in payment of dividend or repayment of capital. Equity shareholders are the risk bearers as well as the real owners, as they are entitled to receive any money only after the payment of all other debts. The amount raised by issue of equity shares is known as equity share capital. So they are permanent capital, and towards the end, in a colloquial example, I'll be giving how we compare equity share, preference shares and debentures in our next slide of part D. Features of equity share, if we say maturity of shares, since they are permanent in nature, the maturity part doesn't arise. Right to income, dividend is paid to shareholder in the form of cash flow. Now, there is no compulsion of payment of dividend to equity shareholder even if there is a profit. Retained earning gives the benefit in the form of capital. So normally the profit goes with the bifurcated interest of the two. Whether you want to pay it as dividend or you want to keep it as retained earning, which we have taken in our this video itself. Then claim on assets. In case of liquidation, equity shareholders will get payment after the debt holders, preference shareholders and all others. Now, since they are the maximum to take risk, the right to control lies with them. They are the ones in the board of the directors of the company. And you can control only through your voting right. So shareholders have a right to vote in person or by proxy. Proxy means suppose you cannot attend, then he would attend on the behalf of the member. And the liability is limited for the equity shareholders to the extent of their investment made on the equity shareholders. That in company formation also and in the characteristic we have said that there is limited liability of the shareholders. Now let us see the merits of equity shareholders. If you still want or the question has to be specific, we can ask from company's point of view, from investors' point of view. Right now we are taking up in a general manner and I'll be explaining which is from company's point of view, which is from investors' point of view. Now suitable for risk takers, it is from investors' point of view. If you have surplus money, you can have a better lock-in period as an investor. This is the best option for you because with a bit of risk, you are becoming a member of the company having the voting right. From company's point of view, the second point comes that there is no obligation for the dividend payment for the company. Then again, third one, from company's point of view, it is a permanent capital. It's like saying you can see the building, but the base is not seen. It's only when you demolish the entire thing that you see what is there in the base. The same way, equity shareholders are permanent and cannot be taken out within the lifetime of the company. Then, from company's point of view, again the fourth point, it provides credit worthiness to the company. Who exactly, what amount, what value speaks on the goodwill or the credit worthiness of the company. Then fifth one, from company's point of view, no charge against the asset. There's no charge against the asset. Next also is from investors' point of view, sixth one, that investors have voting right and companies follow democratic management. That is, the more you invest, the more risk you are taking, so more voting right you have. Take the limitations of equity shareholders. From investors' point of view, the first point goes, income is not steady, fluctuation in dividend based on profit, and even if there is no profit, then there's no question of it. High cost. The cost of raising equity capital is very high. It's from company's point of view. Then, dilution in control for existing shareholders when the company makes fresh issue. Now, it has an impact on both. It has an impact on both the company as well as the investor. By issuing more equity, the company is diluting its controlling right. And for investors, if the investors do not have that caliber of understanding and taking right decision, then it's a threat. Then from company's point of view, fourth one, complex legal formalities for issue of the share, which makes it a tedious process. So this was about equity shares in terms of what it is, its merits and demerits. Now we take up next one, that is preference shares. As the name itself says, giving preference. A preference share is one which carries certain preferential rights with regards to payment of the dividend at a fixed rate during continuance of the company and repayment of the capital on the winding up of the company. The capital is raised by issue of preference shares, is called as preference share capital. They have privileges of being a preference shareholder, and we say the first one is right to get dividend first at a fixed rate before it is given to equity shareholders. You will see normally it is said 9% redeemable preference shares. That means the moment you have profit, the meter of the preference shareholder starts. You have to give him that fixed percentage of. But for equity, this is not there. And right to get the repayment of the capital and the winding up before it is paid to the equity shareholders. If the company has to go for winding up, first debenture holders will take that later on, then preference, then equity are the last to be paid. So stability point, equity, preference, debenture. Liquidation preference point of view in terms of repayment, reverse, debenture, preference, equity. See the merits of preference shares. Fixed rate of return is guaranteed on profit. Then preference in repayment of the capital on winding up. Then, please, I would like to again revert back. Fixed rate of return is guaranteed is for investors. Preference in repayment of capital is for investors. No dilution in control is for the company. They're concentrating their voting right. Then trading on equity. Equity shareholder enjoys more return in good times. This is from company's point of view. No charge over the assets. From company's point of view, and it is economical. The cost of raising preference share capital is cheaper compared to equity capital. I'm not saying compared to, it's more towards debenture. The reverse will happen. Now let's see the demerits of it. It's not suitable for high risk takers. The return on investment is fixed. So somewhere there's a barricading from investors' point of view. Then it dilutes the claims on the assets. The claim on the assets in the company should be shared with the preference share also, but if you're limiting their return, then this should also have been there, but it is not there. Then high rate of dividend normally. So it's a limitation from company's point of view. And we are here comparing to with the rate of the interest. Then fourth, from investors' point of view, it may not attract many investors. The return on investment is not assured, but it is paid only if there is profit. And no tax benefit on dividend on the preferred shareholder is not a charge against profit. It's not an expense, so it's not a charge against the profit. Now, if we compare the status of preference shares and equity shares, they both are the members. It's like saying son and son-in-law. I often compare that way. And debenture will become a neighbor. So what our mythology says, son in your bad days will not leave you at any cost. The same is with equity share. No matter what happens, equity share will not move anywhere. It will be a part of your permanent capital. Whereas preference is like a son-in-law, a fair weather friend. I cannot deny that fact that he is a member, but only till the daughter is there. So if the daughter is not there, you get detached to that son-in-law also. So the same way, preference shareholders, they are not permanent. They may get detached. What we often say these days, I'm sorry for moving apart from this thing. It's only for the understanding purpose to anchor the concept. That normally what people say nowadays, it is better to return back to your parents with a broken marriage than to come back in coffin. So the moment you are not there with your husband, the son-in-law is not part of your family. The same is with preference shares. The moment I've paid you, there's a detachment process with the company. The company will not identify you after the payment is being done. The types of preference shares. On the basis of cumulation. What we say cumulative means to accumulate. So cumulative preference shares, they have the right to enjoy the unpaid dividend in the year of loss or inadequate profit in future years. We go on accumulating it, and non-cumulative means unpaid dividend is not carried forward to the subsequent years. Then participating and non-participating. Here students invariably, in spite of all precaution, commit mistake. Participating means you are participating in surplus profit, not in decision making. Not in decision making. So usual dividend once paid at a fixed rate, if there's a surplus profit, company can think of giving them. And non-participating means no right in surplus profit, fixed dividend only. So please be alert on this part. Then is convertible preference shares and non-convertible. Convertible preference shares can be converted into equity shares after a particular period. Non-convertible, no right to be converted into equity. And I'm sorry I've left out one. That is on the basis of redemption. It's being cut out in the slide. Redeemable, irredeemable. Normally we say most of them are redeemable. Redeemable means you have to repay. Irredeemable means it will not be repaid. That means it will go for conversion as a permanent capital. Now, note to be taken with the serious impact as per Indian Companies Act 2013, all preference shares issued by Indian companies must be redeemed within 20 years. That is why we said irredeemable becomes a theoretical concept. That has to get converted into equity shares then as a convertible one. Now, $1 million question after doing this. What is the difference between equity shares and preference? Let's take the basic one only. Payment of dividend. In equity share, equity dividend is paid after paying the preference shares dividend, and that also there's no compulsion. Whereas preference dividends are paid prior and at a fixed percentage. Refund of capital, equity share is refunded only after the refund of preference, whereas preference shares have prior right to refund over equity, and rate of dividend may vary over years, whereas in preference, rate of dividend is fixed. Now, the third one as the part of owner's fund. As you could see, something in the bowl being stored is your retained earning or plowing back of profit. Whatever is the net income goes with two decisions: dividend to be declared and retained earning for the years coming up for growth and expansion. So we'll be focusing here on retained earning or plowing back of profit. Usually, it's a part of profit which is transferred to the reserve every year and can be retained or reinvested in business for its modernization, expansion. Reinvestment of undistributed profit is a very good source of business finance. Normally, in 11th we say it is the cheapest source, and in 12th we'll say it is the riskiest source, because it is somewhere the share of the dividend equity shareholders which you have retained. So unless and until you are earning more than what dividend you might have paid, there's no point retaining it. Retained cannot be retained for a very long period. That would be blocking up of capital. That is blocking up of capital. Now let's see merits of retained earning. It is a more dependable source than external source, because this is internal. From within the business you are generating, so it is internal source. No dividend is to be paid, so tension free. No cost of raising funds such as prospectus, advertisement, which you have in case of equity shares or preference shares. Then there's no sharing of ownership and control. No voting right, nothing. It's something within. Then no security is needed, no mortgaging, no asset coverage is required. And it makes the company financially strong. It makes the company financially strong. Now, demerits of retained earning. First one, too much of money being kept in business and not used properly is a threat to the company. It results in overcapitalization. It results in overcapitalization. And overcapitalization, undercapitalization, both are evil. But still we say undercapitalization is a lesser evil because there's a chance of reviving. In overcapitalization, chance of reviving is not there. Then, second, it may create dissatisfaction among the shareholders. Third, it is not dependable in the year of inadequate profit. It is not possible. And it ignores the opportunity cost. In our initial lectures of chapter 1, we had discussed this opportunity cost and sacrificing cost with the blend of economics. That when you have 2 to 3 alternatives, the benefit of choosing one should be more than the cost of sacrificing all the other alternatives. So here that part of opportunity cost we are ignoring. We have taken up long-term sources, owner's fund in this part C. Please be with us for my next video of part D, where we'll be dealing in debentures, that is borrowed fund. If you like it, please do share, subscribe and comment. I'm always there for your queries. Thank you very much. Stay tuned with us for the next video.